Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Shelley Tasker show here, coming out of cornwallrevolutionradio.blogspot.com. It's good to have your company. If you'd like to join in with a live chat, click on the live chat room link at the top right-hand side of your screen, just below the player of your choice. Today's date is Wednesday, the 21st of October. Hosting along myself are Charlie Rainbow and Nina Eilertson. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Right there, my love.
And tonight's guest is the wild and awesome Andrea Foulkes. Have I said that right, Andrea?
Yes, but you spelt it wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Hello, Andrea, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Shelley.
Wow, lots to talk about. And lots of people will know you for your light work, your regression work. You've done stuff on the BBC.
ITV.
Are they better than the BBC?
I think in some ways. Especially now, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah. Are any of them any good? But basically, you are a light worker, you speak light language, and before we go into all this fourth dimension and fifth dimension stuff that I have no idea about, I just want to get people to have a feel of where you're coming from. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions like,
okay.
How old were you when you felt spiritually in tune? What kind of happened?
I think like all of us, you're awake as children, but you don't know that you're awake. And then maybe you go to school and things kind of shut down a little bit. And then I had a big, massive awakening when I was about 30. Yeah.
And what happened there?
It was, we'll be here all night if I go into that. I'll try and cut it down. It's like everything. It's like even how we're full gathered now. It's like synchronicity leads to synchronicity, and you will find yourself in a room doing this like you're doing now. But that wasn't how that happened for me. Basically, I was at a gym and a girl there was going on an astrology course, and she kept saying to me, why don't you go on the astrology course? And it took her a whole year of badgering me to go on it. And I went to this College of Psychic Studies in London, and I was like, right, I'm going to go on the astrology course, but actually it was fully booked. So I said, what have you got? So they said they had a psychometry course. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. Do you want to explain to those?
Okay. So psychometry is holding inanimate objects, mainly jewellery, and picking up information about people from holding possessions they've owned. Could be anything they've owned, but jewellery's a really good one. If it's not just owned by them, you can pick up the energy of who owned it before. In fact, the police can use it to bring in psychics to find out missing people sometimes. They maybe don't always let on that they do that, but they do that.
Do they?
Yes.
No, they wouldn't share that, would they?
So anyway, I go on this psychometry course, and we had to all kind of close our eyes and share our jewellery amongst each other, and then they picked up information off my jewellery about me, but not knowing it belonged to me. And I tuned into their jewellery and, got off information about them and was really good at it. So I signed up to a development class. The teacher wasn't the same teacher, didn't like that teacher quite as much as the teacher from the one-day workshop. But then a friend of mine, at the time I was a model, so I'd been modelling for years, a friend of mine went to a psychic and said, I had this amazing reading with this guy today. And the guy that she went to see was someone who I'd been copying his name into the back of my diary for 11 years. So I thought, well, I should go and see him too. So I go and see this guy, and he says, you've been in a development class, which would be the development course I've signed up to after this one-day workshop. And he said, but they haven't realised your true potential. You can do this. In fact, I see you on TV doing this. Now, some of you might, if you ever watch QVC, remember me because I used to work on QVC on the shopping channel.
Did you? I never knew that.
For years and years I worked on QVC. And I loved QVC. But what it was great at is when you're developing and doing all this mystical stuff, you've got an endless supply of people in a green room just sat there waiting till their time to go on air. And everyone knew that, Andrea does all this spiritual stuff, give her your jewellery, she'll pick up about you. And because there were people but you don't know because you're just used to seeing their faces, but you don't know their story. So I'd practice at QVC on people. But anyway, this guy was saying this is going to be your life, la, 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 la. And I was thinking, I don't think so. But I was in this development class. I was really good. It was like from being rubbish at school, here I was in this psychic development group, which is a bit like going to the school of Hogwarts and being top of the class.
Amazing.
Because people would be like, you know, they do development class things that you would do, is like tune into this person when they were a child. What do you think? And people were saying, I think you were nice. I see the colour orange. And I'd be like, right, you lived with your grandparents. This is the name of the road. Da, da, da. I'd be on the money with all the information. And so that's how it would be. And we do, you know, and I developed very, very quickly from not being very good at school. Here I was, top of the class at the School of Hogwarts. So that's what happened. I went on this development course, and then at the time I was modelling for a company who that lady was also waking up spiritually, and she said, oh, I know a lady who does psychometry, maybe you could talk to her. Now at the time I never used to get spots or rashes, but I had a massive rash over my right eye. So she said to the lady, you know, I said, well, ask the lady if I can contact her. And so she rang me back all excited, because I think when you first spiritually wake up, everything's really exciting. It's like one exciting thing after the other. And so the lady had said to her, has your friend got long blonde hair with blue eyes? And my friend had gone, oh my God, yes, yes. And so she said, well, you must get her to call me. So I rang this lady. This is when I lived in London. And over the phone, this lady goes, do you have a rash over your right eye? I'm like, I do. And she's like, you must open your eyes to what's going on. And she said, you need to come and see me. So the next morning, the rash is completely gone. And I go on this train to Northampton at the time to see this lady. And I come out of this lady's house, spaced out and bewildered from being there all day. It's now 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm
what
going,
did she do to you?
Well, she did something called well, first of all, she had all these channelings about world events. And again, she was another one saying, this is going to be your life. I'm like, I don't think so. and then she did something called transfiguration. Do you both know what transfiguration is? Well, she basically turned into a Chinese man. Like her face transfigured into a Chinese man, and she's spouting, as the Chinese man, all this wisdom. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to remember everything she said. I mean, I was there all day till 3 in the morning. The only sentence that I remember out of that whole day as I came out of her house was, you are your mother's daughter, but you don't carry her afflictions. Ooh. And that's the only sentence I remembered. I mean, tears have been rolling down my face. She'd been waving her hands, doing some healing work over me. And then I had even more of a mystical experience on the train on the way back to London. So going back to London, this guy says to me on the train, and now bear in mind, it's sort of between 3 to 4 in the morning. There's nobody else on well, there's a couple of other people, but there's nothing much going on the train. So this guy starts talking to me, but I noticed that nobody else on the train looks up to listen to the conversation. And he said to me, oh, could you give me some money? And I said, oh yeah, what do you need the money for? He said, well, to make a phone call. And I said, well, you could use my phone. He said, no, I need to make a phone call when I get to the station. I went, okay. And he said, I've just come out of prison. I went, oh, right, okay. so this whole, experience is happening. So I give him more money than he asked for, and he stood up, and I'm sat down, and he almost speaks across the carriage. But as he's speaking across the carriage, nobody's looking at us. And he says to me, you've done a good thing. The universe will pay it back to you. And I went, yeah, that's how it works. And I looked down and looked up, and he'd gone. He'd just gone. And then I heard this message, which is so relevant to now, because I saw a post on Facebook yesterday and it did make me laugh, and it said 2020, the year conspiracy theorists become prophets. And
so true.
And my first channeling message that I got at 4 o'clock in that morning, and in fact I wrote it on the inside cover of a meditation CD that I did, and it said, the prophets in their divine wisdom spoke of the purest light, that we might one day all follow the light that leads the way to a brighter future, which is kind of where we're at now, isn't it?
That's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was the beginning of it, and then it just got more and more. So I started writing all these channelings about world events, about things that were going to happen, and cutting a long story short, I ended up very quickly being on Kilroy talking about being psychic, but I'd been on there a year before when I got mugged and strangled outside my flat. So a year later, I'm back on this Kilroy show, but now I'm talking about being psychic. And I'm getting all these channelings about world events. I'm being given the mathematical equations for the elixir of life, about the cosmos, the universe, things that even now I kind of understand them now, but at the time were way beyond my level of comprehension.
Is that from the Akashic Records?
Akashic Records.
Akashic Records.
I think they were just like, because really the universe is a mathematical equation if you go into quantum physics. But I don't know where this information, but I was just being given this information, and they would sign off the channelings that I wrote.
Yeah, it does sound like you're getting some from those records.
Yeah. So I was getting all this information. And this lady that I've been to see, that I was there till 3 in the morning, she was showing me her book of channelings, but I got like piles of these channelings within weeks. And I've only got one of the books now. I lost the others. I don't know where they went. But I had all these books, and very quickly I was being told you need to stand on a soapbox for what you believe in and speak the truth as you know it to be. And then I would lay in my bed, and I was almost doing this healing work over my body with my hands, just moving my hands. And I was told not to work for 3 months, not to worry about money. Everything would be provided for, and it did. They blew the electrics in my flat, and I got my flat rent-free for 3 months. So, everything was being provided for. So I lay there, I did these healing works over my body, and I was starting to levitate off my bed sometimes. And I was writing these channelings, and it was a bit like living in the Celestine prophecy, because remember, this was before the computer. I didn't have a computer, and I didn't have that level of being able to Google things. So I'd write something down, and then I'd be guided to go to the College of Psychic Studies or somewhere else. And what I'd written down, a book would literally fall out of the library, and I'd open the book and it'd be the exact sentence I'd written down. And so it was like one thing would lead to another thing, and all these, and they'd almost tell me, go and wait in this coffee shop and this person will arrive or something, and I'd do it, and this person would arrive. It was literally like that, and that's kind of how my life is. I just told you where I've been this evening, and you were like, I can't believe it.
Well, no, I can. Nothing surprises me about you, because Andrea will be out walking, she'll bump into a family, go off with them for the day, and you've just got that element about you, though. You're so much fun and joy to be around.
I think it's about trust. If you trust, anything can happen.
You're in the flow, aren't you?
You're in the flow, but you do need discernment, because obviously I talked about being mugged and strangled. But again, if we go back to me being mugged and strangled, there were 4 of them, but the guy that strangled me, turns out he was my son in a past life, and I'd had him murdered because I thought he was going to be like Nero, and I could see what he would do if he lived to be a long time. So you think bad things are happening to you, but in truth, what did you do to incite all this earlier on in the game? So when all this spiritual stuff started to happen for me, very quickly, because I'd worked for QVC, I used to also sell products sometimes. So Aveda, who knew me, which was a company that was still privately owned then, said to me, come and give talks in our stores. I said, on what? And they were like, on all the crystals and things. So I started doing talks in their stores. And then I thought, well, now I'm seeing people's past lives. And they said, well, why don't you make a flyer? You can get clients. And then I thought, well, I need to learn past life regression. So I learned conventional regression, but I could already see people's past lives anyway. So I learned hypnotherapy regression. I learned, which is what I do now, hypnotherapy, but I don't really call it hypnotherapy, because what I do is just my own thing. So I do regression, inner child healing, ancestral timeline healing, spirit releasement, light language. I can read the emotional, and I specifically say read the emotional Akashic records. So that's the timeline of your soul, but I focus on the emotions so you can heal. So if you go into the emotion of your Akashic records, you'll find the origin of your trauma. And then if you heal that and you bring the soul fragments back of your soul and you release the trauma out of your physical body, you can heal.
And you can do that?
Yeah.
You can help that person heal?
Yes, if they're willing to drop into their emotional self. Sometimes they're not. And then light language, which is really interesting, because the best explanation of light language I found I think it was last night or the night before. Some of you who maybe watch this lady, because she does have quite a big following, is Magenta Pixie. Do you know her?
I have the name, yeah.
Yeah, she did a great YouTube video, but it's not called The Explanation of Light Language. It's called something else, and I'll find it you and I'll send you the link. But she went into minutiae detail of explaining what light language does, and which I couldn't say a better explanation. Not everybody can speak the same light language codes. I can speak a lot, and I speak them linked to the people who are the audience. And so that unbraids the dormant DNA codes, because sound is frequency, so it opens up the blocked DNA codes, because we're told we've got 3 strands of DNA, but we've got more.
12.
But we've got more, 12. Yeah. And so we've been shut down and told we're less, but this goes back to the galactic wars on the planet, so it all gets wooey, wooey, wooey.
Can I ask you? You've read the book that you mentioned, the Celestine Prophecies,
Yeah.
right? So you've read about the energy. Have you seen? Have you looked at trees like through the eyes of a child and had the chi energy come into your body, like they kind of explain in the book?
Yeah, because I love trees. I'm always telling people to hug trees, but can you see the aura of trees?
I can't see the aura. I have tried to look at an object, and I can see, when a car, when the engine's a certain way in the sun, and you can see the way it is on the bonnet.
The shine.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
Glow.
misty. There's kind of a misty thing when it's a certain. I can see that in an object, but I haven't got the patience to keep looking at the object in that way to get to that. But yeah, I've learned the thing about looking at things through the eyes of a child, and when you do that, the love of the chi energy of the love goes into your body, and I find it really fascinating, because a lot of people will look at a tree and they'll just say, the ego says, I know that's a tree, blah blah blah, that's rubbish. But when you look at things through that, and you're in the now rather than in the future or in the past, that's when that heaven stuff, that chi goes into your body,
Yeah.
and it's so exciting. Really.
And it's about becoming more and more childlike. And
Yeah.
in many ways, if I look at myself now in some of my YouTube videos, I see more childlike than maybe the ones I did years ago.
Yeah.
But it's because you embody more of that. And then I look at my mum, who's 90, and she's got dementia. And my mum is totally childlike.
Yeah.
She's so cute now. She's blowing kisses at everybody, and and singing and cute. But she's only, people with dementia are all different, and I'm lucky that my mum isn't aggressive or nasty, but she's really cute now. But she's just in the moment, in the now. And what I noticed with someone with dementia, and using my mum as a sort of like object of observation, is all the pain she used to talk about in her body aren't there anymore. She doesn't mention it. Her body doesn't hurt.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because she's not in her mind, and some of the carers have said, "Oh, your mum says, oh, I'm so happy. I feel so free." But it's like she's no responsibility or anything,
A lot of people don't realise that when you lose that child essence, you lose something. Because I've never grown up. I've always stayed in the child thing, and so many people haven't. And I'm so lucky, because children have something that a lot of people do not have. They have that just stepping into the moment, creating happiness, laughter, and it's absolutely amazing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and that's how we should be. We're told to see the world through the eyes of a child, and of course with what's going on now, because what's the date today, Shelley?
21st of October.
Yeah, we're all feeling sad for children right now, aren't we? That are being told, don't talk. Well, we've always been told don't talk to strangers, but they're being told more not to interact with people, keep 2 meters away, and this wearing masks business is so sad, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. It is.
You said the date then, has that got something to do with it?
I always say the date. No, my favourite day is master number tomorrow, 22.
Oh.
So there's numbers, because the universe is encoded in numbers. So the universe is made up of numbers. Like there's a guy who, his name was Mandelbrot, and he did something called the Mandelbrot set, which was encoded in numbers is the universe. And then a friend of mine did a documentary with him, a guy, I think he's passed away now, Nigel Lessamore Gordon, on a documentary called Is God a Number? So it was like is actually the truth of the whole universe just a number? Is it a mathematical equation? Which it could be, just a mathematical equation.
Interesting.
Very, very deep.
You
Look at Charlie, I know.
She loves that,
She's
don't
like a
you?
Cheshire cat there.
What have you figured out, Charlie?
What figured out about?
That the numbers
Just
in
then,
the
what was
universe.
you having a thought then?
What were you getting excited about?
It's just kind of like all the stuff you're talking about is pretty much all the stuff I've been into spiritually. So to have someone that you're talking to about it always kind of like
Validating your experience. And this is the other sad thing, you know, we're told. I mean, I'm so lucky because after my big awakening, and I was always told, I mean, when I had this big awakening, I was living in Sloane Square in London, so I really wasn't slumming it or anything, but I was told you need to stay at this dress of consequence to be taken seriously. And, you know, so many, and because I was very lucky, I ended up on TV very quickly, being the past life regression expert on ITV show This Morning, and then they made me my own show called Have I Been Here Before? So I woke up very quickly. Within 2 years, I'm on TV doing this stuff, which kind of, at that time, which was 2004, validated my spiritual experience. Like, you know, when you say to someone, oh, well, she's on TV doing it, she can't be that mad, you know. And so that was the thing that took the wooey-wooiness of people who maybe were whispering behind my back and going... And of course, I didn't tell them. So the next thing, they turn on the TV, and there I am. You know, kind of makes people go, oh, well, maybe she's not. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's okay. And you know, the truth of it is, because of how the world's been, which kind of ties in with now the corona times and everything, is everything you've been told is inverted. So everything that's the truth you've been told is a lie. Everything that's right we've been told is wrong. Everything that's intelligence we've been told stupidity. So everything's the wrong way round.
what, like 1984?
Yeah.
What happened in 1984?
They made certain phrases sound like certain things. So war was made to sound peaceful, wasn't it? And there are certain phrases they made to sound the opposite. To try to fool,
double
speak, tried to fool people.
Okay.
See this. I mean, once you go down this rabbit hole.
Well, for instance, it's like social distancing. It's not. If you look at it, it's not social to distance yourself from people. It's anti-social. It's you be very careful with words and their meanings, because it's an opposite. It's an opposite of what it is.
It's a bit where could almost be identified with the common law stuff, isn't it? You don't say, do you understand? No, I don't understand, because that means to stand.
I stand under.
I stand under, yeah. Language is very important,
Well, that's it. It's because that's why I speak light language sometimes, because when I speak the light language, what I'm doing is overriding this corrupted language, which is this language that we're all listening to now while we're all speaking and understanding each other on one level, although we're not really understanding. It's corrupted and it's distorted to keep you in a reality. It's a bit like why people are dyslexic. I mean, I'm slightly dyslexic, but I think the dyslexic thing is a way of overriding the corruption. But then you're told you're stupid, but you're not really.
No. Oh, we're not all manual and stuff, are we? Like that. Those, you know, my middle son, he didn't do bad at school, but he didn't do brilliantly. But give him a musical instrument, give him a car, he can just do anything he wants, basically. So it's not schools say, well, qualifications, as we've said a few times lately, you don't need to be qualified to have. It helps if you can say, I've got this qualification to do your job, but you can...
But where we're going now is people are going to struggle if they are very qualification orientated, because they'll be very left brain, and where the world is going now is right brain.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
And they're really going to struggle, because everything that they built and this is where people are going to almost have a mental breakdown, because everything that they've built their life and reality on is going to be taken away. And that system won't work anymore.
It's evolution. It's evolution. We're going into a spiritual thing on Earth. So.
Yeah, it is. All this right brain stuff is very interesting. Me and Darren had a conversation the other night because a year ago we were lucky to sit in a physical circle together. I've been sitting in physical circle for quite a few years now. Anyway, we went and we had an amazing evening, and anybody that had read about it or was interested, you would come away and think, wow, I was so blessed to witness the trumpet moving around, the table moving around. But Darren comes home, well, somebody must have been doing that. It's like you've been shown that right under your eyes. You can't do it in light, you do it in the darkness. We all sit in trust and love, but even when you're being fed that right in front of you, you can't explain it. So
the problem is, even though he's lovely, I've met
oh, he is lovely.
The problem is, if you start to believe that, this is the problem for most people, if they start to believe something mystical, even though they've been given evidence of it and an experience of it, then it's a bit like me when all my spiritual stuff happened about 20 years ago. There comes a day where you have to sit in a dark room and go, everything I've been told to this point is a load of bullshit.
And that's really difficult for some people, isn't it?
For a lot of people, I think.
And if you can do that, you will progress really quickly. If you keep fighting it, which is the reptilian, you know, when we talk about the
reptilian brain.
It's the reptilian left brain wanting to hold on, which is what's happening with the governments globally now, and the people and the beings that operate behind physical reality, is they're just desperately trying to hold on because they know they can't. And so they're trying, what can we do? What chaos can we create? What confusion can we create on this planet?
Do you believe they're losing and they're trying to grab onto the last remnants of...
Yes, because the more if you know you're losing and you're not in your heart, you're not like, oh, well, you know, hey ho, you know, because it doesn't really matter. But if you're very, you know, what's the word, success orientated, and you go about that in a left brain fashion, and you perceive that you're losing, but not only you perceive you're losing, you know you've maybe got to leave. What would you do if you knew you had to leave and you're not a kind-hearted person?
You'd try and drag everybody else down with you.
And you're bitter and jealous and not a nice person. You'd want to wreck the place, wouldn't you? Which is what they're doing now. They're creating chaos to wreck the planet because they know they won't be living in it.
It is, I think life is so exciting at the moment. It's exciting, but it's scary. I'm not scared. I'm frustrated, probably like you guys get as well. You know, I am fed up with people in masks. Yesterday, I just wanted to scream at all of them, you idiots. And at the same time, as you said earlier about being in your heart, it's time you have got to love.
Yeah, it's like I've created. Well, I've created a reality with my. I call it, well, I wear, you know, the hidden disabilities badge, but I wear it, and a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't wear the badge, you shouldn't wear the badge. I wear the badge because, in truth, I don't, as an empath, and a lot of us who are empaths, we don't want that negativity projected at us because it feels horrible when people project that at you. And so in my reality, by wearing the badge, it stops that. But also, I've had people come up to me going, where did you get that badge from? You know, and I helped a lady. I mean, one just made me cry. She was like, I've got lung cancer and told I'm going to be dead by Christmas time. I can't wear this mask. Like, oh, no, you should take that mask off. And she said, well, where did you get that badge from? I don't. And so I told her, oh, thank you so much. And I said, you are going to live beyond Christmas. You know, and it's the power of the mind. That's the other thing. You know, I maybe don't have a white coat on. And how dare you tell someone they're going to die? Nobody has the right to tell somebody, because it's spell casting. When you tell someone,
if they believe it, it's half the battle.
Yeah.
If they believe they're going to die in that amount of time, it's half the...
And they projected a level of credibility in your spoken spell that you're casting upon them, then they're going to believe it. Whereas if they go, yeah, I don't believe you, and you know, and you use something, and this is about the vocal range that you have within the ability to speak with your voice. You can plant a seed within them, which is, no, you are not going to die. And that goes into their brain. No, I'm not going to die.
Do you know what? That is just one simple line, isn't it? That is one simple line that when we do our talks and demonstrations that you start with, hello, you are not going to die. Because basically that is, I've never realised how many people are scared of death. They are petrified beyond belief. And I mean, I have no fear. And that sounds, perhaps I'm just over it.
Yeah.
I've never felt braver and stronger in my entire life.
Yeah, you said, Shelley, that you loving this time. It's really found your vocation. I mean, doing this now, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been waiting my whole life for something like this. I've always been a bit, I don't know what I'm here to do. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I've suffered with depression for years, and I'm not saying I won't ever get low. I think everybody gets low. I've come off certain medications, or I've gone totally natural remedies. So 6 tablets less now. I believe, you know, within 6 months I'll be off the antidepressants, which I've been on for 20 odd years. But I'm doing 1 tablet a week. I'm missing out.
Well, the thing is with pharmaceutical drugs, what you're doing is you're suppressing your spiritual journey. So all the stuff that's got to come through you can't come, and you can't release it because you're never going to be allowed. While you're taking those drugs, you're just keeping a lid on it, but it's still there. And then you stop the whole purpose of why you're in a physical body and you're on this planet, which is to have this spiritual experience and process your stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like after I got mugged and strangled outside my house when I lived in London, I ended up on thyroxine, and I was on it for 16 years, and then I've been off it now 5 years. But when I took myself off it, this big fear comes through. Oh my God, I never want to be that tired. I never want to be that fat, or, you know, whatever. It was like whatever was my fear, because at the time I was modelling. So all of a sudden I put this weight on really quickly. And then, but in retrospect, looking back at that time, if you think about the modelling world, which is quite shallow, it's the outer world, isn't it? It's mastering an outer reality of your body. Then the polar opposite is mastering the inner world, which is your spiritual journey.
Yeah.
So it's like doing both polarities. So I've done both of those realities. And I was lucky that when I had my awakening, all this stuff that I was telling you about at the beginning, somebody gave me a book by a lady called Barbara Bissiniak, which was Bringers of the Dawn. And she's written quite a few books, but Bringers of the Dawn was a great book, and Family of the Light. And this is about all these higher beings that are helping humanity and where we come from ultimately in the cosmos and the universe, that we're not alone. But it's seeing that we, and the way I see it now is that we're all from different star systems, and those star systems all work slightly differently. And what you've got with some of the people now that are trying to push their agenda, like let's look at Elon Musk with the satellites, he thinks that we should merge with artificial intelligence. Well, maybe that's where he comes from. I mean, he's admitted in an interview the other week that he's a 3,000-year-old vampire.
Really?
Yeah, I saw it in a mainstream newspaper. Not that we can believe everything we read in the mainstream newspaper, but in the interview he'd said that he was. And, you know, I personally don't believe we do need to merge with artificial intelligence. We are humans, and we're going to lose our humanity. I mean, what they're trying to do, like Charlie was saying with the social distancing, we will lose our humanity because the heart auric field is 6 feet, and so if you keep 6 feet from people, you're not going to be in that heart frequency of people. So they want you losing your humanity. You know, why would you shut the door? I mean, I've heard horrific stories. You know, one of my friends, she came, her mum and dad live in Cornwall, she lives in London. She came here to see them, and they wouldn't let her stay the night, wouldn't let her in the house, you know, because they're terrified of the corona. Yet you're losing your humanity when you don't let your own children.
We're experiencing this at the moment. It was my grandson's birthday today, and obviously I'm not with my daughter's dad. Anyway, his other half, she is totally fearful about this whole COVID thing. She's got vulnerable parents. We all know someone vulnerable. But today it was their grandson's birthday, and they didn't come and see him. They just dropped the bag on the doorstep, knocked and walked off. Dad wants to see him, doesn't give a damn. But she will not, you know, because he's in contact with me. So if she doesn't see her mum and me, obviously Piran's his nephew. It's all very tricky because I've got obviously an older daughter and a younger one. So
whose birthday was it?
Right, it was my grandson's.
So your daughter's son.
My daughter's son,
right.
Yeah. So my daughter's son is my son's best friends. You can't keep them apart, okay, because they're close in age.
Yeah.
But if he sees me, if they see each other, she's totally freaked out then and won't have my daughter in the house. And they've decided not to see us for the time because she's seeing me. So my daughter's had to choose basically, do I see my mum and my brother and make my son happy, or do I go and see that? It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
That, you know? They shared a cigarette, and I think the daughter said she went to take a drag of a cigarette, and stepmom freaked out. Oh my God, you're gonna have to stay away from me for 2 weeks now, and everything absolutely crazy, washing their shopping, and I'm at the point now. My daughter's like, I don't want you to fall out about it. It's like, she is just. How do you get through to these people?
I know
you can't. I've got it with a family member. I've been told that if I want to see them, I have to isolate for 10 days. And it's like, if I did that once a month, it would be a third of my month, which is like a third of a year.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, and I said, well, you do realise that because I can't do this, that means that because this coronavirus is going to be happening for years, it means we aren't going to see each other for years. Now, these guys, whatever you want to call them, that's doing all this, they obviously know that they're splitting families up.
Well, that's the whole intention. You know, if you read a book called COVID-19: The Great Reset, which when I spoke in Truro the other week, I did mention about this book. It's by a guy called Klaus Schwab, these are all globalists. These are all people who believe this narrative, which is, you know, this whole thing's a pandemic, and it is to reset the currency from fiat currency, to get rid of the fiat currency. But there's a positive version of it, and then there's a version where it puts us all into social crediting, like the Chinese, where literally we can't do anything unless, you know, the app on our phone says we've got enough credit. And by credit, it means things like, have you social distance from your community? Yes, well, you may go shopping today.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's that level of scrutiny. Or have you had your vaccine? Are you up to date on your vaccine? I'm sorry, you're not. You can't go abroad. You know, so it's that kind of reality they're trying to create, where we're little control robots, where we don't have time to do anything. We just work because and they're getting rid of the shops because they don't really want you shopping. There's no singing, no dancing. Oh, it's going to be a joyful, you know.
They are halfway there, aren't they? Because, you know, you have to sign in for track and trace. You have to have your temperature done. But like you say, I will put my wrist up and I will refuse hand sanitizer.
I carry my own thermometer.
Yeah. And I give fake names and phone numbers. And now they want you to even scan in your QR code, don't they? When you go in the shop.
I haven't done yet.
Yeah, but
don't
lots of
have
people
to do
say
it.
like,
They just
oh,
do
I'm
it.
going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people I've seen going into coffee shops doing the QR code, and you do not legally have to do this QR code. I think the shop has to legally put a QR code on the window, but you do not legally have to do the QR code.
Is that the track and trace thing on the phone?
Yeah. You don't have to do that. And even the other day, I showed this app to this girl because I was sat outside in a coffee shop in Cornwall, and I thought, I haven't even been inside. I'm only sat outside. And she can have your details. I went, no, because quite frankly, it's not even legal. And I showed her the thing on my phone. She went, oh, okay. I still haven't even been inside.
What thing on your phone? Like the information?
Yes, the information. I think that's the thing we should all do.
Yeah.
You know, when you see stuff on Facebook or social media and you think that's really good, store it in your photos so you can pull it up really quickly. You know, the whole thing that we all, probably everyone listening knows, or hopefully they know, that you can get this hidden disability badge under the Equalities Act 2010. Nobody can ask you, you know, why you're not wearing a mask, what your medical or emotional issue is. They have no right to ask you, and if they pursue that line of course of action with you, you can fine them up to £9,000.
Yeah.
You know,
what I've had a couple of times recently is someone saying, can you show me your badge? And that they actually think that they can ask you that.
They can't.
Yeah, and they can't ask us a badge. I mean, you know, people have got this belief now that you have to have a badge. But the problem is, if you go, well, not the problem, the truth is, if you go on the government's website, it clearly says, and it clearly states, if the thought of wearing a mask causes you distress, do not wear a mask. And if you're not sure, ask a friend.
Does it say that?
It says ask a friend.
Oh my God.
So if you're unsure, ask a friend.
Oh.
And they say, I think you shouldn't be wearing one.
Yeah.
Depends who your friends are, doesn't
But
it?
people, it's so simple. People, you know, even when you say to people, have you actually looked on the government website and seen this whole coronavirus was declassified on the 19th of March? They won't do it.
No.
They won't do it. And you're saying, I'm just asking you to go to your own beloved government's website.
Yeah.
And to me, this might sound really controversial, it's like they're on a spectrum of narcissism. because it's like they're so rigid in their belief. How dare you tell me I'm wrong? I'm right, I'm right, I'm right.
Social, what do they call it? I can never say the word dissonance.
Yeah.
Is that
Cognitive.
right? Cognitive is...
Cognitive dissonance is slightly different. That's where you've disassociated so badly from your trauma. And then because of what's happening now, you're disassociating further. So on a spiritual level, that means you're leaving your body. So you're not in your body, which leaves you in a very vulnerable position. Because if you're not, if your consciousness is not in your body, it's like squatters. You know, any vacant building, body, temple, house, something else will seek to get in there. And the truth of this planet is it is a multi-dimensional reality, and there are darker beings in other dimensions of reality. And so if you're not in it, these snarly, nasty ones will get in.
It's like a radio frequency. If you're on one radio frequency, you're not tuned into another. If you can tune into another, you can probably see things in different dimensions. And
you know, and the thing is, though, a lot of people have been very unfortunate in this planet, and I can only speak for the UK, and having had a friend who went through this, from my perspective, she rang me up and I thought she's having a spiritual awakening, but the things that she did, because she had a little job in a corner shop, and she acted a little bit strange, and the owner of the corner shop knew she'd broken up with her boyfriend, so he rang the police. And within hours, she was walking along a beach and got arrested and was put in a mental health unit. And it was in there for 2 months before she could get out.
What?
And from my perspective, she was having a spiritual awakening. I asked her family to, you know, get her a lawyer to get her out of there, because you've got 12 days on a first arrest to get someone out of a mental health unit. They didn't. And she was in there for 2 months, and she's got a child.
Oh, that's awful.
You know, but from my perspective, listening to what she was saying, she was having a spiritual awakening, but she wasn't grounded with it. So, you know, in ancient times, that's why we had ashrams in places like India, where you would have a safe space to have this awakening if you were not grounded during the process. So you had this community that would allow you to go through this process without being medicated and locked up. Which is insane.
Oh, it is. It is.
Was the Kundalini awakening any
And
any
I think, well, the interesting story with my friend, I don't think she'll hear this, but as I gathered the evidence, and I'm a bit like Miss Marple of the soul, I love a bit of soul detective work. This guy that she'd split up with, it turns out that his ex-wife, when he split up with her, ended up getting Section 2.
Wow.
And then I ended up speaking to my friend. I said, what is it you loved about this guy? You know, how did he split up with you? What happened? And, you know, she was feeling vulnerable anyway, but she said it was amazing, sexually amazing. So I thought, that's it, isn't it? You know, he's this amazing activator of Kundalini energy. And he sent 2 women to the edge. You know, with his magic wand. But the problem is, people are ending up sectioned from these people who are able to activate and in all seriousness, you know, you're completely right, Charlie. It probably was a Kundalini awakening. And if you're not grounded, it will seem like you've gone insane.
I'm going to sound really
She's
stupid.
going to have to go and Google
I'm going to have to go
Kundalini.
What does it mean?
Right. There's a chakra system.
Yeah, I know about the chakras. Yeah.
Right. The base chakra is to do with sexual energy.
Yeah.
A Kundalini, when they have a Kundalini awakening, the Kundalini energy starts from the base. The way they describe it is like a snake curled up at the base, and it's like the energy awakens. So the snake awakens. It's like energy, and it goes through the chakras up through to the crown chakra, and apparently it's one of the starting phases towards enlightenment. It's one of the phases to get to enlightenment, and once you've gone past that one, I think you can learn, you know, different But she probably knows more.
Kundalini.
She probably knows more. It's an ancient.
Shelley's looking because
There's
we're
ancient
on
knowledge.
a podcast.
I can
no
even-
one can see her face.
I can even tell you that, because a lot of people don't know this, if people regularly have sex or play with themselves, sorry guys, I do apologise.
No, people will be loving it.
I'm
Yeah.
blushing because
Yeah.
my dad is listening. Okay.
If people keep on having sex and or playing with themselves, the Kundalini energy comes out of the body, which can actually, if you keep it in your body for as long as you can, it's very healing. It's very powerful and healing.
Oh my god.
And you notice how so many people put up these days about sexual dancing and always encouraging people to, I wonder if it's to do with they want you to do that regularly.
Well, then you go into kind of the whole tantra thing.
That's what I was just going to say.
The truth of tantra as opposed to the abusive tantra, because there's a lot of people teaching abusive tantra, but it's about life force energy. And kind of if you look at the symbol for the allopathic medicine NHS, it has the kinesis, it has the snake going up the. Is it the kinesis? Yeah. And so basically they're trying to curtail that energy and stop that from happening. So kind of if you have a Kundalini experience and you know how to channel that energy, it's energy, so you can almost short circuit your brain because the energy goes through your head. But if you're not very knowledgeable and you're not grounded at the time, you could look like you're going insane. And there are certain people who obviously are very good at activating this energy within ladies, or ladies activating it within gentlemen. And
Do you think, I've got a quick question. Close your ears, Dad.
Your dad's loving.
Yeah, no, I bet he is. Right, asking for a friend. Do you reckon? Can I even say this?
Go for it.
Oh, I don't care.
It's for
Go
a
on,
friend.
just go
It
for
is for a
it.
friend, yeah.
It's
I'm
for a friend.
asking for you, Hayley,
Friend.
whatever you're called.
Hayley.
She wanted to know if when you have amazing sex and you both laugh like hysterically for 5 minutes after, could that be it?
That could be it.
Could be
Right.
what?
Yeah. Because
My Kundalini being
what
activated.
the whole thing is energetically, what should happen is you become like one energy. So you become like one energy centre person.
It's happened to me. I've done it to myself. No. Do not even go there. Do not even go there.
Shelley doesn't realise that in circles that I normally
No.
chat with, this is like normal banter.
This is normal.
Dad,
This is normal. I haven't done anything physical. It's what you do with your brain. With
Right,
with the energy.
okay.
She's opening up.
Moving
Right,
on.
no comments, that's fine. Right, moving on. Where were we? We will be having a break in 9 minutes.
But this is the thing. I mean, I'm so happy Charlie's here as well, because the thing is, though, although it's a giggle, in all seriousness, we talk about this in workshops and stuff like that because these are the taboo subjects that we need to talk about, because this is why people end up sectioned, because they don't know about this stuff. And if they knew what was happening to them, they would be able to deal with it. Whereas they go to their doctor and their doctor doesn't go, oh, but you know what, I think you're having a Kundalini awakening. The doctor goes, you know what, I think you need to be sectioned. And this is the problem we've had in allopathic medicine. There is no room for your spiritual awakening.
And something I would like to say, is when you say about the grounding thing, just to let people know, if you want to know how to ground yourself for anything like this, doing things like walking on the beach with your bare feet or on mud or on grass, it usually takes me about 45 minutes to feel the effects, but grounding like that, say once, twice a week, helps keep you grounded with your...
And I sleep on and the ions at the beach are very different than walking in the woods as well. I sleep on it's a whole other conversation about what happened to me during the corona times, but I sleep on an earthing blanket now because that gives you the Schulman frequency of the earth. So It's a blanket that's woven with, I've got one that's woven with silver, but you can do that with the copper, and you plug it you plug it into a socket in your house, but only goes to the earthing socket, or you have a copper spike that goes into the ground outside. So in the winter, because we're not really walking barefoot or laying on the earth, it gives you the same experience as if you've been laying on the earth. So and the thing is, you live in a toxic soup of electromagnetic frequency now, so you need that for your well-being.
I want one.
It's natural. If you think about animals, they're constantly connected to the Earth's electrical field. Their energy, their electrical field is constantly connected to the Earth's electrical field because they're not wearing shoes.
And you get sick and ill when you're not, because the planet now, what's called the Schulman frequency, which is the Earth's frequency, this whole thing we're in now, this corona times, is the end of a 26,000 year cycle. And though, you know, you've got this child that's being rolled out as the poster child of climate warming, but climate warming would happen naturally anyway. So your body has got to come into alignment to this new frequency of the Earth. And if you don't, you'll get sick and ill.
Look at Shelley's looking
I'm
at me.
taking it all in. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's going to be our favourite podcast.
No, it's so interesting, is it? Because I am very spiritual, and I read my books and stuff, and I used to do a lot of meditation, spiritual healing, all that sort of stuff. I think we're all spiritual in our own ways, and I've been reading The Invisible Rainbow and things like that. I find it hard to retain information. You know, that's heavy reading for me, but I understand the principles.
But the thing is, we think we need to retain information, but we don't. I mean, there's a great meme going around Facebook, and it's a little Chinese boy, and he literally puts his hands over the book and then wipes his hands down his face. You know, he's just reading the information off the book. I mean, you know, lots of people know that you can put a book under your pillow and wake up knowing that knowledge in the morning. And so the fact that you've read it, as long as you enjoyed reading it, I flick through books. I don't necessarily read them cover to cover. And in Iranian, Farsi is written, we read left to right, so they read right to left, so they read from the back of the book to the front.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, don't think you've got to retain this information. It's a bit like going to the cinema. You only remember the bits that had relevance to you. Yeah. So you're just going to remember what you need.
But when you read it the first time, you only take in about 7%. They reckon that if you want to retain it, if you read it 15 times, because when you read it once, most of it stays in your consciousness, but you need it to move to your subconscious. So the way you do it is by reading it about, say, 15 times, it automatically goes in then, and then you're able to know it from the subconscious.
Yeah.
So then you retain it.
I suppose that's when you get to the point where you can speak freely about stuff. It's like, you're speaking, I just love the way that, like, you remember names.
I don't normally remember. I don't remember.
She's got a list in her pocket.
I'm terrible. I don't remember people's names. But the thing is, the more you evolve, what I've noticed happens is you might be driving somewhere thinking, oh, I'm going to meet these people. God, what are these people called? I have no idea who are these people. I know these people. These are friends of mine. I don't know. Who are these people? And then the minute you see them, their name comes back to you. But it's when we panic and think we need to know something before that moment.
Yeah.
And in truth, driving there is no need that I know that person's name until I'm in their presence.
Yeah, just trust.
So it's like trusting that. Because once you've acquired so much information, you only need to bring it back from a filing cabinet in your brain when it has relevance.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from. Yeah, I think I panic too much about remembering stuff and wanting to say the right thing, and then it puts you in that panic. And then I am a bit, my speech, I get things back to front a lot of the time. And I've noticed this more over the years. I write numbers down back to front. And I bought my nephew a birthday card, not my nephew, I bought my grandson a birthday card today from Piran, and of course that's Piran's nephew, okay? It's very, because they're similar ages, we got uncle and nephew, but I bought him the card, said to my uncle, I'm seeing the opposite all the time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's a form of dyslexia, but that's not a bad thing. But it's like, I listened to, you know, when we spoke the other week in Truro at the event, the Unite for Freedom thing, I listened back to what I said, and actually I meant to say billion, like the 7.8 billion people on the planet, but I actually said the 7.8 million, but I didn't mean million, I meant billion.
Yeah.
But I thought I said billion, but when I heard it back, I actually said million.
Right.
So we're all saying things slightly incorrectly.
Yeah, we're only human.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to remember in it all the time.
It's a lot. And we don't really, we can pull it from the Akashic records. That's the other thing. We'll wait for Charlie because she'd love to talk about the Akashic records.
Yeah, I'm really dumbfounded actually, Charlie, because I've never for 1 minute thought you're stupid or anything like that. But you are so intelligent, and I'm so every week you come out with more stuff, and I'm like, Charlie, you surprise me every week. Your knowledge about stuff.
She knows
and it's time.
of...
She does know lots of stuff, and I never, we haven't got that far because we're always
doing
stuff.
You know what I say? It's like tap it and unwrap it. The knowledge comes forth.
Yeah,
That's really weird that you say that.
Why?
I don't get many people saying that. People think I'm thick.
That's the way you looked at me then and laughed. Do you know, Charlie's come in tonight with a present for me, a little tub of fairy dust.
Are we on a break?
I've got one as well.
But we will be.
Oh, okay.
And it's for when we need it.
When we need it. So I've got to throw this over who? Is it to sprinkle over myself?
Bill Gates. If you throw that over Bill Gates, if he tries to stop you in anything and you throw it over him, it will magically stop him from doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it'll take away all his evil spirit.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay. Right. Right, everybody. We're going to have a quick music break. So go get yourselves a cup of tea. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Shelley Tasker show here on Cornwall Revolution Radio. Along myself, our co-host Charlie Rainbow and Nina L. Eilertson, never get it right, and our guest this evening, the awesome Andrea Foulkes. If you'd like to join in with a live chat, please click on the live chat room link at the top right-hand side of your screen, just below the player of your choice. Today's date is Wednesday, the 21st of October. Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies.
Welcome back.
Right. We were, I don't know where we were, but we need to talk regression and we need to be serious.
Well, I think the thing is, you can talk about serious subjects and still be giggling.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's the whole thing. You keep the frequency quite high that way. It's like when you see people talking about football, they talk about it like, it's serious. It's really not serious.
No, it's not.
Whereas what we're talking about is serious, but we can talk about it in a more jolly way. Yeah. So in regression, when you go into past lives,
tell me how it would work. So I would come to you, or you come to me.
Well, no, I work on Skype because I can read the Akashic records. So basically, the Akashic records, and years ago I couldn't even say Akashic.
No, I'm not going to try
until a few years ago. So now because I can say it, I like to spout it out. Akashic. And I think that puts people off the word Akashic because they go, oh, I can't say it. So, but actually, the Akashic records is the timeline of your soul's existence.
Okay.
So everything that's ever happened to you is stored in your Akashic record.
Like your consciousness.
It's beyond your consciousness because it's actually kind of outside of you, but it's you. So it's like ferreting in your handbag, really. So I'm really good at looking inside the handbag of your soul.
Okay.
And finding out the cause of the problem.
Right.
So you would say, oh, this is what's happening in my life now. And then you waffle. I tune into your frequency. And then I start to see images or get impressions that we need to go back to events in your childhood, or it was a wound trauma, or I start to see vignettes of your past life, and I see it's a very quick way of seeing your past life. So I'm just being shown the bit that's caused the emotional issue for you that you might have been carrying through various lifetimes, just replicating the same story. But in this lifetime, say it might have manifested as Crohn's disease, say.
Right.
But in the truth of it is we've gone back into the origin of where it came from and what happened in the other lifetime to manifest it.
Right, I'm with you.
And then when we heal the emotional trauma of it, your body, if you truly heal it and you let the energy go out of your body, you have no option other than to heal. And then if there's any entities attached as well, then we speak to those, we ask them how long they've been attached to you, what they've been affecting in your life, and then we find out how they got into your energy field, and then we release them. But we tell them we don't have the power to make them go, but there's no point them staying attached to you now, because you're going to know that they're there and they're going to lose their power and control over you. And then the entities hide behind emotional consciousness in people. And that's why sometimes when you see people get in an argument, they get taken over and this nasty ranty thing comes forth. And then they go, oh, I was not myself. I don't know what happened. Or we get frightened in relationships because we feel like we become this crazy lunatic. And this other personality takes over, because when you're in a relationship, that person's triggering all your buttons, and then it brings forward this darker aspect which you think is you, and it might be a fragmented aspect of you, but most of the time it's an entity that's attached to you, and it might be an entity that's had a physical body and died, and it could be a little child that died, or it could be an adult, or it could be somebody who's annoyed with you from a past life. And every time you die and then you reincarnate, it reattaches. Or it could be a really snarly one, which is what we're dealing with globally right now with the governments. We're dealing with these snarly interdimensional entities that are eons old and have never had their own physical body. When we call them the Draco, the reptilians, all this energy. The Anunnaki, many different beings, it can be them, and they're saying, oh, I'm control the greys, you hear people talk about the greys, and they can be controlling the person.
Fascinating. Excuse me, everyone.
But you can't...
Those people in government could be controlled, they might be controlled by those entities.
Yeah, and if you look at it's multi-generational, so, one of the portals for the Greys is the Houses of Parliament.
A portal?
Yes, like a Stargate portal on the planet. So
why are there portals?
Well, there's
how do they make?
Well, there's dimensions, isn't there? There's dimensions.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why those spaces.
Well, there's portals all over this planet. Well, they probably thought, oh, we'll build this structure on this portal to capture the energy.
Is that a bit like ley lines?
Yes, like ley lines and portals.
Like St. Michael's Mount.
Yeah, and like St. Michael's Mount's a powerful ley line. You've got the Michael and Mary.
Yeah, but when those buildings were built, do you reckon they were built with that in mind?
Yes, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, so they built them, basically.
Yeah.
We're going back to starters, really, aren't we? Because those before us, the ancient people, they knew about astronomy and energy and stuff like that. So they were very advanced, really. And I think we're now going back to those times of natural healing and stuff, aren't we? The material stuff isn't important.
I was just wondering if the good guys or the bad guys built those buildings on the portals. If you know what I mean? That's what I was getting at.
Well, that's kind of what they would do. They would harness the energy for their agenda.
Yeah.
And then you look at it, and on a bigger level, they've got their schooling system. So if you, look at what happens to a lot of, not everybody who goes to certain schools, but, it's formulaic. They go, oh, I've been to a boarding school, a same-sex boarding school, it's a boys' boarding school. It's almost like you can guarantee 8 out of 10 people who've been through that experience will have been sexually abused. So there's fundamentally something very wrong with that experience. And also, even if they weren't abused, in general, they're being taken from their parents at a very young age and being put in this place where there's not really going to be much love and kissy cuddles. And then, but you think, well, I suppose the kind of family that would put you in there is probably not going to give you many kisses and cuddles anyway, or you've got one parent who would and one parent who wouldn't. So it gets complicated, and it's not judging that system, but it's saying there's something within that system that breeds a very left brain conscious person who isn't in their heart, doesn't have empathy, and like now we're all looking at the government going, they're all nuts, and we look at these people going, they're inhumane, they're liars, absolute barefaced liars. So they say that psychopaths are already existed. It's an ancestral thing. But sociopaths are created through life experience. That's where they say the difference between psychopath, sociopath is. But, you know, they are all on that spectrum, aren't they? The government are all on that spectrum. And actually, if you look at Chris Whitty, the one I dislike the most, and you look at his history, his ancestral history, his grandfather was murdered. His father was a diplomat who was murdered when he was at boarding school. And so, you know, this guy is emotionally shut down.
Yeah.
So you start to see how he could be easily controlled.
He was part of my awakening in a way to what's going on now, because when they started putting him on the adverts, I was just watching TV and he'd just appear saying, do this and do that, follow the rules, stay safe, and he's looked like a robot, like he looked like an alien.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I just thought this is just like weird.
So, and you know, we're presuming that we're all here on this planet with the same agenda from the same place, and the truth of it is we're not.
What do you think are reasons? Do you believe like did I choose my parents? Did I choose them to give me a teaching?
Yes, because from a higher perspective, when you're reviewing the potential for incarnating in this lifetime, you're not in the consciousness you're in now. You're in like, oh, what would best serve me to evolve the most?
Your higher self.
Yeah, your higher self. You're like, perfect. This is perfect situation. These are lovely people for my soul, for what I'm going to do. Now, sometimes it does work out, and they are lovely people, Graham. But sometimes people go, oh, surely not these people. But then, you know, maybe they've got some other karma with them that they've got to work through, and that's why they've chosen those people. And if they didn't have the pushback against those parents, they maybe would never even leave home. It'd be all too nice, and they wouldn't have the life experiences.
Your end result of when you're in your higher self form is to say to yourself, right, I need to get to enlightenment. How do I get to enlightenment? Now, sometimes for a diamond to form, you have to have a piece of coal going under immense pressure. So in your life experiences, sometimes you choose good stuff and sometimes you choose the negative to kind of try to mould yourself towards that enlightenment path.
Yeah, I get you.
No.
Sorry. I'm trying to mentally work it out as I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
and you've got facets.
I was just going to say, every facet has got a side, and
that's the whole thing. You're looking to shine up all the facets of the diamond that you are, because you're a diamond. So, you know, people can go, well, I'm not fearless. No fear here, but in this area of my life, I'm fearful, or I have anxiety, or this issue. So when they tell me that, coming to me as a client, I'm like, okay, let's look at the origin of where this fear comes from, and let's clear this fear out once and for all. Like, where does it come from? What's the origin of it? You know, what does it serve you to do? You know, what's your story? And so it's looking at that. And often I get people who they book a session and then they might sabotage it and cancel it before they even get to do it, you know. And the issue we've all got on this planet right now is self-worth issues. Most of us have got self-worth issues. We've got fear of our peer group, fear of government, you know, and now we're being pushed in this fear around abundance and money. And, you know, in truth, money is just abundance. It's just so it's the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And, you know, when you're not corrupt, and you're not lying and cheating to get it, it should flow to you anyway, because you're in alignment with your highest truth. And what you need to do will be part of that abundance. Now, the abundance won't necessarily be cold, hard cash, but it might be if that's what you need at that point in time. Or it might be something else that somebody offers you that creates the abundance you need to do for what is basically your highest expression of joy and excitement for yourself. But people sabotage it. Like, I've seen people who are saying, oh, I wouldn't pay for a session with you, but they'd spend £20,000 on a heart transplant. Or wouldn't it be better to spend a little bit of money healing your heart emotional issues, and you might not need the heart transplant, but their brains can't think like that.
No, I totally understand that. It's like we could give loads of reasoning, couldn't we? organic food. People are like, I can't afford that, but then they can go out and, oh, I've just been out and spent X amount, and it depends what's important to you. Yeah, what you value. And I think all of this has certainly taught me. I mean, I'm living at the moment, I don't go without anything. I was saying to a friend last night, I'm not worrying about next month's mortgage. I have faith and trust that the universe will provide.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't need anything. Yeah, we'd all like a really nice car, but why? I'd only go and hit it.
And the thing is, when you see people who win the lottery, in general, everybody goes, oh yeah, I want to win the lottery. But in general, what they've found doing research is most people who won the lottery within 5 years were back to the money they had before they won it.
Yeah, and worse, Darren, my partner, his brother won the lottery big time, and he got into masses of debt, spent it all, and he's still now paying it off, and he won pretty big as well.
There you go, you see. Because it's our, do I feel worthy of this? What have I done to acquire this money? Do I have actually the life experience or the soul experience to know how to manage this abundance? Because people are going to come out of the woodwork and hit me up for money. Now it's going to teach me boundaries. It's going to teach me discernment. Who should I give it to? Who should I help? Who should I not help? But I need to have boundaries because I need to actually help myself as well. And also, you know, you see people who are not used to having money and they go, oh, I'm going to buy all these things. And then they go, oh, actually, you have to maintain those things. And I can't actually now afford to pay somebody to maintain those things.
Yeah.
So, you know, our abundance, and then you think, oh, the headaches it's given me, was it worth it? So this, you know, sometimes we think we want things, but actually we just want freedom. That's why I call what I do soul freedom, because in the truth, we just want to be free. We don't want to be tied to things.
To any system and time slots. I mean, I haven't worked, I won't go on to it because I've said several times over the weeks about working at the hospital and I'm not wearing a mask. I can't stand it. So I haven't come off the books. I am a bank worker. If I got desperate, I think Christmas is coming. But I've actually said to family this year, I said, you know what? I'm not going out to work to give you something material that you'll look at once and not do anything with. I'd rather pay for an experience or do something like that. You get to that point, and I haven't worked properly at the hospital probably for about 6-7 weeks now, when photography work is coming in a little bit. I'm selling stuff on eBay. Also, I don't want for anything, you know, and it feels brilliant.
But that's the thing, even though we talk about the corona times and the negativity of it, there is a positivity of it for some people like us. You know, we're gathering and starting to have new fabulous experiences and connecting with new people in maybe ways we wouldn't have done before, and being very easy. It's like people who don't, you know, who are anti-mask wearers say to me, it's very easy to see who I could go on a date with. They won't be wearing a mask. You know, it's you know, so you kind of sort out, you know, it's being very clear who your kind of people are, and you can spot them quite quickly.
Definitely. And this is what I can say now. I've literally never had as many friends as I've got now. I've got friends, who've got associates and stuff like that. But now, doing the stuff that we're doing, organising rallies and stuff, and this is why I say about listening to you talk, Charlie, because we haven't really had loads of intimate time, have we? Well, I mean, girl chat and stuff. We meet up and we do our bit at the rallies and stuff like that. We'll
She's
talk.
very wise.
She's very wise, isn't she?
Yeah.
Wise.
Keep it coming.
Yeah, well, we all need.
Laugh it up.
Enjoy. But I don't think you give enough credit for yourself.
Well,
Charlie.
you know, it isn't that. The thing is with Charlie, as is with all people who are spiritually knowledgeable. Oh, gosh, this is going to sound awful now, but
Just say it.
You need the right audience to bring forth the knowledge that you've got. So I could seem like the village idiot sat with people
definitely.
who are the wrong kind of people to be around. You know, they just wouldn't get the depth, and they wouldn't bring forth the knowledge that you've got, because they wouldn't have the desire to want to ask you any questions.
No, I know what you're saying, and it's like I've known you for a few years now, Andrea. It's funny because it's quite a few years ago you came and gave a demonstration and a talk at Pengegan when I was running a spiritual meeting every month.
Yeah.
And so that was how I knew you. And then obviously I've been your little cleaner, and that's been my little job in the summer.
And you see, that's it. Fun. But that's come out of the corona times, because the lady who was looking after the chalet went into absolute terror and fear. And then you said, and I posted on Facebook who would like to look after the chalet.
Yeah.
And you said, and again, we'll share the story of how I bought the chalet, shall we?
Yeah.
Because
Shelley.
The mermaid
I
chalet,
think Piran
actually.
thinks it's his head office, isn't it? But in 2007, I was in London, never having been to Cornwall in this lifetime, and I was meditating, and this little white wooden chalet came into my vision, and it had little baby blue windows, and the message that I got was, if you Google it, you'll find it. And it took me 3 days Googling it, and I found it, this image that I saw in my mind, and it was in Cornwall. So I thought, I must buy this. And so off I trundled to Cornwall, and I bought the chalet.
Oh.
And
That was
that's how I
wonderful.
came to Cornwall. And I've tried to sell it over the years, and it turns out on a spiritual wooey level that it's the gatehouse to the cities of light that are on the beach in Hale, which is a portal to the cities of the light in other dimensions.
And this is where we need to come to now, because when I first went down and had a cuppa and you showed me around, it was funny because you were going on, we were cleaning bits in the kitchen, and you were nattering away about the fourth dimension and stuff. And, I am spiritual. I like to think I know quite a bit of stuff. And I came home and I'm telling Darren, and he said, she sounds boring. And I would never think that, because it's something we don't understand. We don't know. But you would. We had people here, other people that I know, they'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? And they would never understand it, because they've never, I've talked to people before with our girly group when we've gone out and we talk about spiritism. And I mean, I'm not lying, but then on the other hand, they don't believe me neither. They all think I'm a bit crap. But anyway, I'm beyond that now, because I've met my people. And it has taken this to make me meet my people. And I love the way that everybody is so eager to help everybody. And like you say, the synchronicity of it all, everything happens for a reason, and you keep coming into these people.
It's like you two, like you starting to do the cleaning, and then that's probably created
It's created a
because of that,
friendship.
Then you speak at the rally in your head.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
like
come about.
And then it's funny how we've met before.
Yeah.
And you said, didn't you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. And she was involved in a little acting thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so how's that the tenuous link of everything?
Yeah.
It is. You come together in the end.
And now we all want to come and have a session with you, and we're going to hope
Get in line, girls.
Yeah.
Get in line. Right now.
But you can literally heal everything, in your body if you're willing to go deep enough into your emotional trauma. The problem is, and I hear this from clients, when they finally released whatever it is they needed to release, and I go, how long have you been holding on to that? And they're like, oh my God, like in this lifetime, 30, 40 years, and probably 80 lifetimes. I mean, and that's the truth of it. You've been carrying this stuff lifetime after lifetime until you release it, and you can get pains in your body, physical things. They could be triggered by events, ages, people you meet, places you go. So you could be in great physical health and well-being, and then all of a sudden you go to a place or you meet somebody and it triggers a cellular memory, and all of a sudden you've got this issue, a fear or a phobia or a strange pain in your body that you didn't have previously, and it can be triggered by meeting that person and triggering that cell memory. So for example, I was dating someone years ago in America, and from the minute I met him, I got this pain in the side of my back. And he's very spiritual too, and he said, well, I'm not taking the knife out in this lifetime. And it turned out in the past life he'd stabbed me in the side of my back. I wasn't the nicest of ladies in that life, I have to say. It was Roman times, and it was one of my most significant past lives, and it was a key past life, which we all have key past lives that we could. People go, oh God, well, how many past lives am I going to have to trawl through? But if you can get to a key life, everything else emanates from this one life that you've never worked out all your stuff. So basically, it was Roman times in that lifetime. I was married to this guy, and we had 8 children. But the truth of it was, as it turned out as time went by, that all those 8 children were not his children.
Oh
there was only one that was his child. The rest belonged to other gentlemen that I then had to meet in this lifetime. And thought, gosh, I think I had a child with you in a past life. So it all comes back to me, and I'm thinking, gosh, how long was this Roman time? Because I keep meeting all these men, and then my denial of self wouldn't allow me to see, oh, actually it was the same life. Oh, I was a liar. Oh, I was terrible when I had all these children with all these different men and told my husband, oh, they're all yours. But in truth, there was only one child that was his.
And did this husband ever find out?
Well, this was the guy I was dating in this lifetime.
Oh.
So when I'd said to him, oh, I'd love to have children with you, he's like, oh, no, not that woman again. You know, so, and I was sort of hobbling around with this pain in the side of my back, you know, because energetically it's triggered the memory of the knife, the whole thing. And then it turned out that, you know, he stabbed me in the side of my back, but it wouldn't have killed me. But in the past life, when I'd said to him, say you love me, and he wouldn't. So I stabbed myself in the heart and killed myself. But
dramatic.
But then what I hadn't seen was that I'd left 8 children without a mother.
Oh, yeah. So on another level then, do you believe now, all that you believe and know now, when you die, okay, do you believe you will come back again? Not as in like we do, because I believe in, I want to say recreation. Reincarnation. This is my word thing. But because you're so advanced now, do you believe you would need to come back again?
Well, it can get really woo-woo. Like, I probably don't really need to be here necessarily now, because when I had that big awakening in this lifetime, I was vibrating so highly, I was losing the density of my physical body. And then I think I chose to stay in a physical body. I could have left, I think, at that point. Right. And then I chose to stay. And I think I took on some of these past lives that I'm telling you about now as a way to understand how life is, to help other people. That was the impression that I got at the time. But then to get out of this reality gets really complex, because you've got to have enough, what they talk about in quantum physics, and people who are great at explaining this, but really on a really wooey technical level, is people like a guy called Dan Winter. And they explain how you have to get through Stargate portals out of this dimension to get out of here. So you don't want to get stuck in this reality, which is what the government outside of physical sight globally, these elite families are trying to do now, is trying to hold this planet into a frequency which will not be very nice. So what we're trying to do is override that frequency. Like, although we've talked about their time being up on this planet and this and that, they're trying to hold a frequency so we don't awaken. Like, they know that this is the end of a 26,000 year cycle, and they're trying to find false ways, maybe by using 5G satellites, other things, to create a frequency to hold a reality. Now, on a higher spiritual level, I don't believe they'll be able to do it, and the planet will ascend in consciousness and they will get kicked off this planet. But they're going to try just in case their plan works, but I don't think their plan will work.
So the more you're in 5-dimension reality, the more chance that you have to go with it, whereas more third dimensional is where they're trying to trap you, basically.
Yeah. So are we in 3rd or 4th dimension now?
In this present moment of now, okay, the way I describe it.
Explain it.
Imagine we were in a coffee shop now, together, having this conversation, okay? So the level of the conversation would have increased our frequency. So sometimes when you're in a group of spiritual people, you might think, gosh, why is the waitress ignoring me? But they might not be ignoring me. It might be that the group collective energy has risen in a frequency that you're not visible in her reality.
Okay.
So unless she holds a similar frequency to you, she's not ignoring you. She just doesn't see you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then you have to make yourself aware of her, because you can see the other realities. Now, it's a bit like probably talking about ghosts. If your frequency's a lot higher, you're not going to necessarily experience the ghosts in the house. But if you have a lot of, and when we say frequency, what we're talking about is how your consciousness thinks. So if you have a lot of negative thoughts in your mind, a lot of fear, a lot of self-loathing, all this, it lowers your frequency. So you're going to be compatible to the ghost frequency.
Ooh.
because the ghosts have stayed because they had a lot of negative emotion. Now, if they were an evolved being, they would have just poofed off out of that dimension. So they wouldn't be in the second dimension and lower. So when you see the ghosts, it's because they're in a lower frequency.
And they're trapped.
And they're trapped kind of thing. It's like a conscious...
Right, I've never looked at it that way before. Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So it's kind of finding out what their story is, helping them to heal, increase your own frequency, and then you could be in a place where you might go, oh, it doesn't feel that nice, but you're not necessarily going to be able to see them, whereas somebody else might see them because they're more frequency compatible with them.
And your frequency can change depending on what you're thinking as well, because they did a test with water, and this guy did a test. He froze it. He froze the water when he said the words, "I'm sick." It was a horrible, yellowy, horrible, disfigured thingy. And then when he said "love," it was a beautiful crystallized water. Now you think we're mostly made up of water. If I say to myself, "I'm sick," the damage that is doing to my body and the third dimensional frequency that is keeping on. Whereas I keep saying things like, I'm strong, I'm powerful, even if you imagine that you're healthy and you're running around and you're not healthy now,
but you'll start to feel it.
Yeah.
You'll start to feel it, and this frequency goes into fifth dimension.
Right. So we are, in actual fact, we are what you think. If we think we're that, we're going to be that.
Yes. Whatever you concentrate on is what.
But you have to be impeccable with your thinking. And it's a bit like when you see people going to self-motivational seminars and they're like, yeah, they've done all this positivity. But if in the subconscious you've got another story running, the person who's gone, yeah, I took all that positivity and I just ran with it and made my life amazing. And you're going, well, I went to the same workshop and I'm having problems because you've got stuff in your subconscious, which would be the past lives, the wounded inner child. So the wounded inner child is the fact that, in your childhood, your parents might have said something to you. It doesn't even necessarily, it doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It doesn't have to be that horrific. It could just be a very small thing, but it was so big to you, like maybe your mummy bought you new shoes and said, Shelley, don't you get those shoes dirty? And then you went to school and the children said, Shelley, come and play. And you went, oh, I'd love to play, but mummy might not like me getting there. And you gave your power away to mummy, so you decided to make mummy happy by not getting your shoes dirty, and you didn't go and play with the other children. And so you gave your power away, and then you kept doing that in your life, making other people happy and not following your own joy and passion.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that.
So that can happen just from like a comment like that.
Yeah, so if it's got into your mind and you've thought as a small little person, and that's what I do when I take people back. I take them back to the first time they decided somebody else's happiness is more important than their own. And then you're giving your power away. And that's a good parent. That's not a horrible parent. That's a good parent. But it's just constantly giving your power away, not knowing your own power to make yourself happy. So, and then when that happens, little shards of your soul fragment off. And now we really need to reclaim those parts of your soul and bring them back to come and live with the adult you, especially if you've experienced horrific abuse in your life.
Also, the first 7 years gets replayed over and over again. So if something happens in your first 7 years of your life, you are just consciousness. Your subconscious doesn't form. So you can have a situation where, as a child, the parent can say, you're not allowed that lollipop, and the universe can repeat that over and over, saying, you're not allowed that money, you're not allowed that relationship, you're not allowed that whatever, all from that little thing. So it's very important for the first 7 years of people's lives that the child is cared for and nourished in a certain way.
So for the first 7 years, you're meant to really stay with your parent. But then after the first 7 years, your parents have to let you go because everything that's going to be formed is done within those 7 years. Like Charlie said.
That's really interesting, actually, because Piran's obviously 7, and I've been finding things hard parenting-wise, like we all do. And Piran won't try new food, eats rubbish all the time, and he was poorly yesterday. He's had today off school, and usually my emotional attachment makes me phone a doctor and get antibiotics, get the Calpol out. I am the stupid one because I'm so worried my baby.
Homeopathic remedy.
That's what I did. I gave him vitamin C, and do you know what? It broke my heart because he was screaming, he was crying. Okay, and I syringed it down him. And I said to somebody else about it, and they're like, but you're doing that for his better good. I can't get him to eat anything, and it does feel cruel, but I'm at that point now. I have to be emotional and giving him what he needs.
The truth of it is, and we're going to be harsh with you now.
What would be harsh with me?
The truth of it is, now, at the beginning, in these 7 years, you gave in to him.
Yeah, I did. And I know when he was
Yeah.
poorly once, and he doesn't want to eat that, so do you know what? I'm going to let him have something sweet because I just want him to sleep all night.
Yeah.
I breastfed him for like 3.5 years, which I think was perhaps a bit too long because we stopped trying different textures and stuff. And yeah, I know it's too late now, but that yesterday I'm trying to explain to him all the time that if you're not going to eat vegetables and fruit, you've got no vitamins in you. And the homeopathic way is vitamin C. It was garlic and oil in his ear. And do you know what? I let him ride that fever out. Usually I'm like, oh, give him the cowbell, bring the fever down. It's like, no, we're going all natural. And today it's just totally different. And I feel chuffed because it's like...
So you did the thing that Rob Ryder was saying then?
Yeah, I
last
did.
week.
I did. And isn't that amazing? Because usually I'm like, suppress that temperature, just bring it down. I'm not letting him get over that illness that keeps forming.
But his body's getting his own immune system by getting rid of those exosomes, isn't it? That need to come out.
But for me as well, being more in that power now, like I say, my medication, it's been 5 days now of taking. So it's all, but like I say, the first 7 years, I have messed up that. And I know I have. And I'm sure in the years, things will change. You hear people say, oh, I lived on fish fingers for the first 10 years of my life. But I want him to be healthy and to thrive.
Yeah, but if you're doing the good thing now, you're trying to get into him this idea that he needs fruits and vegetables, and that's good.
And you have to let go of guilt and shame. That's the thing. Is like, whatever we're doing, the hardest emotion on the planet for humans to get rid of is shame. When you go through with people processing, what's your darkest emotion, hidden behind it all is shame.
Yeah.
You can't tell people forgive yourself until you've acknowledged that you've got guilt and shame.
And I think having guilt is a good thing because it tells you that you did wrong. You have to realise sometimes. It
tells you that you've made the best decision you could based on the information and knowledge you had at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And now, you feel guilty about it because you wish you did something different.
No, you feel guilty because you feel powerless that you couldn't change, but you can.
Yeah.
So you can let go of the guilt.
See, from now on, you can do as you did, which is just encourage fruits and vegetables. He'll get into a habit for however many years to have fruits and vegetables, and then when he gets to adult life, it won't be like going like it was for the first 7 years or whatever. So maybe your intuition or your instincts are kind of, no, I have to teach him now. Maybe that's...
I know it'll come when I look to like a year ago, we're eating lots of
but
different
also
things.
What he's learning is, and this is the dark side of it, he's learning manipulation. And you've got to teach him, no, you don't reward manipulation.
Yeah. Well, it's like Darren says, he ain't going to starve himself, is he?
No.
He's not. But as a mum, I'm like, oh my God, he's hungry and sleepless nights and all. And I am awful. If anything happens to my children, they've got a temperature or anything, I go to panic mode. Anyway, I think lots of mums do, don't they? But
yeah,
it's natural.
But it's been like a big learning curve, hasn't it, recently? Like what we learned last week with Rob Ryder. That was
I knew all of that years ago. Yeah, I did. But you let these things subside. And I'm very into my pharmaceutical drugs. If I've got a pain, I'll pop a couple of Cocoa. Lovely little relaxation as well.
That's terrible.
No, I don't anymore. I've stopped. Now I've got this little stick that good old Hannah Cairns gave me. Put it on my forehead and it works.
What is it?
Is it a magic stick?
It's past tense relaxation blend.
What?
The worst thing I did was though, when I came back on your temples on the rally, we ordered an Indian takeaway and I was like, oh, I've got this, what Hannah gave me. And I rubbed it all over my forehead and then I kept thinking, my Indian tastes horrendous because all I could smell was that and it's got loads of coriander in it. But before I was popping, but I've gone all natural now. I've gone that circle of I need to get out the pharmaceutical system.
But then the next level is to go into your body and release negative thoughts and beliefs and start to see that you don't even need all this stuff. It's like
Yeah, and I believe that now. I seriously do. I've seen how people heal themselves, and like you said, because I was thinking before, well, actually, what if I need a medical procedure for like a hiatus hernia? But then these other people that are on like the Arnica support pages and stuff, they're like, oh, just try this. And you're like, oh no.
But once you go into your body's only trying to tell you a story of your soul.
Yeah.
So
we can rebuild these cells.
Yeah, you rebuild every cell in your body, and once you release the trauma, your body can heal in a second. It's like how I healed my ankle. When the allopathic medicine said you need surgery on both sides of your ankle like a year ago, I was like, thanks a lot, but no. They were like, you won't be able to walk in a year's time. I don't even limp now, so it's...
Yeah, and that mind over matter thing, I broke my leg years ago playing football, and I played the next season and I ran with a limp, and it wasn't painful, but I ran with a limp, and I went to bed for a nap the day before, and I did a mantra until I fell asleep. My leg is fine, I feel great. Do you know, the next day I ran and I had no limp. Yeah. So I totally believe in thought, changes everything, doesn't it?
And this is the difference. Like, if you go on my YouTube channel, you'll see me explaining the difference between Lemurian times and Atlantean times. Atlantean times is where allopathic medicine came in, where they decided, like Lemurian times were when we were like, oh, my body is hurting, something's not right, I'm out of alignment with my authentic soul self, I must come into alignment, let me see what story I have within my soul that I need to release. Whereas Atlantean times was a corrupted timeline where they started to teach false teachings about the ancient mystery schools, and that's where they started to bring in this, after these galactic wars, they started to believe in, oh, well, if it's broken, let's just cut it open and throw it out and sew it up and chuck all these medicines down our throats.
Yeah.
But that's not the answer.
No, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I've totally turned aside.
And actually, when they were all clapping like seals for the NHS,
yeah.
Actually, on a spellcasting level, you were clearing you were getting rid of the NHS by clapping for it. You weren't creating it, you were getting rid of it.
So it's actually a good thing that people clap and all.
Well, they thought they was clapping to help the NHS, but actually they were clapping to dismantle it.
So like on an energetic level,
well, because they don't want to fund the NHS anymore in the UK. It's being privatised.
Oh my
goodness!
Like
Twitter, who had like another ulterior motive.
Yeah,
it's all been planned, isn't it?
It's like if Serco who do the trick and trace. I call it trick and trace. But if you look at the companies they own, I think they own all the patents in America.
Pretty nice, not on the forehead.
They own half of the traffic lights in the UK. I mean, there's a guy who goes to speak to all the stuff that Serco owns.
Oh no,
it's so corrupt.
It is when you start looking into all of it, where everything comes from, isn't it? Everybody owns this and everybody owns that. I think these two are getting high on that stick.
Hannah, I'm getting high on the stick. Love, it's lovely.
So we're in the fourth dimension now.
Well, we're not. We're still in the third, but the planet has already ascended. So the planet's moved into a higher frequency, but we as humans have got to come. So what they've done is create a distraction from the fact that the planet has moved into a higher frequency. They're distracting you now from the fact that the planet's moved into a higher frequency. So you are being distracted in this 3D, trying to drag you into 2D, if anything, game, whereas in truth, we're in a higher frequency now. And it will go higher and higher because there's lots of other dimensions.
Well, yeah, and the highest vibration has got to be love, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
so universal love.
So the more we're in love, the more we're in joy, the more we're in the moment. If you're thinking or worrying, you're in the future. So if you can, when you're having a shower, if you can imagine the drops that are going on your skin, feel the way your body feels, and it brings you into the now. And that helps you to come into a fifth dimension, heaven-like state. I've gone into a shower and gone into that.
So that's why the shower's so long, isn't it?
Shh! Don't tell him, love. Don't tell him. And because I'm not doing it to wash.
We were in London together for a week.
I'm not doing it just to wash my body. I'm doing it to be in the now and to feel it on my skin.
But now I know.
Because sometimes I've reached it where it feels like it's gold. The drops are golden because you're so in the now. And it feels absolutely amazing. Little things just just breathing, eating, whatever.
Mindful.
When you are in there, it's amazing. It's like you're in heaven. You know, if you can get that into that. I presume you've experienced that.
Yeah. So you just. But the thing is, though, like you've just not understood why she was in the shower for ages. Do you see?
And she couldn't believe what a short time I was in the shower.
4 minutes. I mean, who does 4 minutes? Seriously.
But that's the thing, we've got to communicate. If we don't communicate properly, people.
I wasn't bothered about it. I just thought, God, she really loves her showers.
But we don't understand. Like you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Now you're like, wow, that's why she's in there. But then that teaches us compassion with people. We don't understand why people are doing what they're doing.
See, what I do is I do this thing called conscious eating. I don't like it when people are talking when I eat, because when you're talking, you're distracting me from the actual thing. And this is in the Celestine Prophecies book, and I love it. When you eat, concentrate. You don't even try and get your fork for the next thing. Just concentrate on what you're eating and the taste and textures. Be in the moment with your eating, and it heightens the taste of your eating. It's fantastic, isn't it? I love it.
And like also, I think did you read the Ringing Cedars books? The Anastasia?
Oh no! Books? Oh, they're amazing. Oh my God, she is amazing, isn't she?
You two were definitely meant to meet tonight, weren't you?
Yeah.
Can I just say, I wanted to ask you something, because earlier you said, oh my God, my thought's just gone. Oh yeah, that was it. Right, where can you see all this going if we do rise to if we do this?
We will go into heaven on earth.
Yeah, I know, I was asking them.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to know what you want to say about that. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, because I also believe it's a holographic universe, so people will go into whatever they choose to experience in their reality. So, for example, let's just take lockdown, for example. I would go to the supermarket and there was no queue. Yet I'd hear these other people going, I've just been stood in the queue for 2 hours. I'm like, where did you go? I go, I've just been there. There was no queue.
Yeah.
So in my reality, there was no queue. You know, and I've got a friend, she keeps saying, oh, when I go into the store, people give me dirty looks because I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, I feel people are sending me love and they're happy for my freedom to breathe fresh air. And I think I've got this reality, and it is truly my reality. When I go to the shop assistant, I think, they're so happy for me. Like, you know, they're so kind to me. Yeah. Whether they think, she's got special abilities, who knows? You know, but I think I've got special abilities.
Yeah.
You know,
special love,
special abilities, hidden abilities. And also, I don't say social distancing. I say we're vibrational distancing. It's a completely different reality. So what I'm going to experience won't necessarily be the same as somebody else's experiences. Nobody's experience can be exactly the same as yours, but what they'll do is you'll have a point where they all merge. So like today we're all merging at a point in Shelley's house. And
the vibration is very high. I'm
and
really
the vibe
liking
high.
it.
But in truth, we're not all living the same reality. And so what you believe, you will create, you know, but you have to really believe that reality to create it. You know? Whereas when people start going, well, it's all right for you, and, you know, then they're almost spellcasting themselves into a different frequency and reality. And like in my reality, there's no way, not even a thought in my mind that you would have to be microchipped. That's just not my reality. So
so it doesn't even come into your ethos. You don't even think about those things. Facebook, you don't even put the stuff on Facebook that about what's going on type thing.
No, I do. I put a lot, and I put a lot of stuff to cover different realities for different people.
Yeah. So fifth dimensional stuff, and then stuff about the Bill Gates stuff. Maybe
I cover all. This is my perception of Facebook, and my Facebook is that I'm aware that there's people who are my friends who are coming from lots of different realities because of the fact that I did this on mainstream media and the fact that people have followed me for years. So I know they're not necessarily just on a spiritual path. They might be tinkering with that idea. So I just post whatever my intuition guides me to post, but it is quite an eclectic smorgasbord of stuff.
Yeah.
And then some people will resonate with stuff, they don't resonate with others. In general, I don't get trolled anymore. Now, for years, because I've done this for 20 years, there was points where I tried to tell people the truth of what was going on and people would troll me really badly. During this corona times, no trolling. Whereas I've seen other people going, oh my God, I've been trolled so badly, because the consciousness of the people that they're carrying in their group energy isn't in alignment with their energy. Whereas I seem to be carrying people who, they might not be on exactly the same page as me, but we're under the same vibration of believing this is not making sense.
And this is why David Icke says, because people say, well, why are you not worried? And he goes, because I'm in the vibration of love, and because the cabal is in a totally different vibration, he goes, they can't touch me.
Yeah, and that's
if they stay in that vibration of love as much as you can, they can't touch you. You're an infinite being. And what they do is they make you believe that you are in a smaller box than they are, because they can't get out of their box. They can't do what we can do. They can't elevate to what we can. So they try to make us believe, well, you're in a smaller box. And this is where the fear comes in. It's the thing of, it's the currency of like control, he says. So what he does is he puts it up, they put you in the smaller box by all this fear to do with COVID and stuff like that. But once you realise how great you are and you step into your power and you realise, hang on a minute, I'm not at that level or even at that level. I'm better and bigger, then you're free and they can't touch you.
And also what people don't like when you start saying what Charlie's saying is people want... it was quite funny because somebody posted, I did get what you could call it getting trolled yesterday. She was a lady who I uploaded the video from speaking in Truro at the event, and she put it, but it just made me laugh. She put, Andrea Foulkes, you should be ashamed of yourself saying those things. Shameful. It's terrible what you've said in that video. It's absolutely disgusting. It's almost as bad as what you said on Towie. And because I was on Towie as well. Yeah. And I was like, but I don't feel this. This is your projection. This is all her projection. And the thing is, though, when you have real friends, like, you know, everybody has real physical friends that they hang out with a lot. But if they're of a lower vibration than you, they project onto you that you should care what their opinion of you is. But actually, when you've moved beyond that reality, it's not narcissistic or anything. It's just, well, your opinion of me doesn't make any difference.
difference.
So I don't care what you think about me. They're like, how dare you not care what I think about you?
Because people have said to me about David Icke, they've said, well, the things he believes in is so extreme, is so, you know, and it would have helped everybody if he hadn't said blah, blah, blah. And I try to explain to him, if you watch his videos enough, you understand he's got to a point where, because he had a lot of bad people saying bad stuff, he got to a point where he was totally free, and he totally expresses himself as he fully believes whatever. Now, you're not going to believe everything that everybody believes, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that all through the years he's predicted things over and over and over and over and over, and things have come true, it gives him some legitimacy. Who cares what you believe about something that's not in the same? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like I can remember writing things in a newsletter, or I've had friends say to me, Andrea, you shouldn't write those things in your newsletter, because I've put, if you don't resonate with me, it's like a ship at sea. I'm casting you off like an anchor at sea. So unsubscribe.
I love it.
I said the boat of joy is only vibrating higher. And then my friend was like, you're going to end up with no clients. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not carrying these people anymore. And that's the thing. When you go with what your core belief is and who you are, you will go through a transitory period where you're like, oh, that's interesting. But then you'll have dropped all the dross behind you, and then you'll just be with people, because there'll always be people who vibrate with the highest vibration of who you are and never fear what you're letting go of. Yeah. And people fear letting go. Oh, what if I let this job go, or this relationship go? I mean, what if I end up alone with nobody, or whatever? You might actually like it.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to risk everything for who you might become.
And I think this is what I found in the last couple of months. I stopped posting things for a while, not long, a few days, but I was so fed up of arguing with people and what people said. I was taking it to heart.
Yeah.
And I had a break, and I came back, and I'm like, do you know what? These people don't even put comments anymore. You know, somebody was saying like, well, I feel quite offended, and I was like, oh, well, I'm a bit sorry about that. And now I'm like, oh, that's up to you, isn't it? Everybody's offended by everything.
Well, I'm offended that you're offended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't care anymore. And when you get to that point, I think it is lovely. It really is lovely, not worrying about what people think about you. And me and Charlie had this conversation a while ago by a text one night, didn't we? You were saying about shine bright, be your brightest star. And I said some of us find it too hard to be as bright as you can be. You try to lower your vibration because you don't want to be too bright.
You put yourself down to pacify other people.
Yes, you don't want to be too big.
Yeah, and it's yet all you're doing is hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I did it when I was modelling. You know, people used to think, well, you can't be pretty and intelligent.
No.
But it's like, well, actually, yes, you can. And I can remember one day working somewhere modelling years ago, and this woman introducing me, going, "And this one walks and talks."
This Dolly.
And it, you know, it's rude, it's insulting, but that's the thing. If you don't want to offend people because they have a low opinion of themselves,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, that's not your fault.
No. Well, we are going to have to wrap up now.
Shall I give my website?
Of course. And we will put it in the live chat. I don't know if anybody's in there or they're just not talking. We'll put it up anyway when we've got the show. I'll put all your hashtags and all
Where
that
is the
sort of
live?
stuff.
Should we check the live chat or just in case?
Just in case, we're good, aren't we? Where's the live chat? I haven't even got it open. No. We won't look. We'll find it in a minute.
Okay.
You sure? No, you
yes.
don't.
No, that's okay.
Oh, is it gone?
It's gone. So just a quick look. Oh, no, that's fine. We'll write it down in there anyway. And when the show, it usually takes about an hour. If it's usually ready in an hour, I'll share it on the page and what have you.
Okay.
Okay. So your website, Andrea?
My website's andreafoulkes.com or .co.uk, and even if you just Google Andrea Foulkes with an Foulkes, I'm on Google searches.
Yeah, she's on Facebook. Lovely. It's been a real pleasure to have you.
You're welcome.
And it's what's really funny as well is I asked you years ago because I was going to start this then. Do you remember?
Yes, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, and I never got around to doing a radio show.
It wasn't the time.
It wasn't the time, no. Because for me, I decided not to do it because I didn't want to risk my child and everything because we're living in dangerous times. And you never really got back to me. It was like, well, I'm busy, blah, blah. And here we are, like 6 years on and we're doing it.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Right, couple of...
Lovely to meet you both again. Meet you properly for the first time.
Yeah.
I love hearing what Charlie's got to say.
I know, you have to watch their videos. We'll show it. I'll plug in them. This Saturday, there is a couple of things going on. We have got London. I think there is a few seats going on the bus. So if you want to book a ticket, it's leaving Penzance at 3:10 in the morning. It's £45. There will be a big march, and you'll be filled. The coach will be filled with like-minded people. That's Saturday, but also on Saturday in Penzance we have Fiona Diamond.
Yeah, Fiona Rose Diamond. Yeah.
Fiona Rose Diamond. Anybody else?
No.
No, that's fine. What I was going to say was
yeah, she's got
We've got
she's got someone that's coming with her.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, we did a march on Friday, and it was really some of you might have seen. And if you go on Charlie and Nina's page, Martha the Marshal, you can see what we did. And Gazer Terriana came and did a talk, and we all walked as marshals, and it was brilliant. When it was really good, and I loved how people stood out the shops listening and stuff like that. Brought people in to listen. Yeah. And I've sorted the risk assessment and everything, and I didn't have a chance to say to you earlier, like the policeman said, what's the name and the contact details of the person organising it? Because I always say I'm just a point of contact. And I said, I'm afraid I don't know that person's name and contact number. And what's funny is he's replied, but he hasn't bothered asking me because he knows legally I don't have to tell him. And he's a very nice policeman anyway. But and he also said, how many marshals will there be? I said 8. Well, actually, I don't know how many of those high-vis jackets you've got now, but there's probably going to be 30 or so in there.
The first march was 13, then the last one was 31.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay.
Fiona's got a lot of following and a lot of people are interested, so I don't know how it's going to roll.
Yeah, and this starts at 12 o'clock.
This starts at 1 o'clock this time at Wharfside Car Park in Penzance, Cornwall.
Opposite
Iceland.
Opposite Iceland's. It starts at 1 o'clock. We're going to be doing the march. We're going to be marching through Market Juice Street, Causeway Head, back down Causeway Head, Market Juice Street. I'm going to try and get the speeches to start around 2 p.m.-ish, might be a little bit later, but try to 2 p.m.-ish at Davy Statue, which was Shelley's brilliant idea of getting gazers to say there, because then Blue Peel people are also walking past. So thank you, Shelley.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know, Fiona Rose Diamond is
my hero.
Charlie's hero. Yeah.
She's a lady that has organised the London protest on the 19th, and she is part of she's joined as part of Doctors Alliance team, as well as starting Resist and Act thing as well. So she's quite famous. She's one of the top freedom fighters, like Gazer is. So she's
this
quite
Doctors
big.
Alliance. Well, Doctors Alliance has started in.
My dentist's in there.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Zach Cox, the holistic dentist.
Oh, that dentist.
But yeah, Fiona isn't a doctor, but she's on the Representing Freedom movement, isn't she?
Well, she's got a lot of stuff
that's
that
amazing, isn't it?
she's done. So.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yes.
Okay, right. So lots going on. Penzance or London.
Yeah.
Nice to be local.
Yeah.
I'm really torn at the moment. I'm really torn.
If you can't get to London, you've obviously got the options of coming down to Penzance.
Yeah.
You know.
And we've got plenty of